Peace, good evening. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I'm your Foul Player. I wanted to talk about a story that was on the news more so yesterday than today, in addition to all the other things that were happening yesterday, i.e., the Epstein list dropping or the Epstein files dropping in part this week or yesterday. A bunch of other crazy stuff, New Year just setting off, but one landmark that the country just passed in the last couple of days is a bad one, which is the national debt reaching to 34 trillion. Few pointers regarding that. One, the national debt from the time that the country became a country in 76 to 1981, the country took from 1776 to 1981 to reach a debt of $1 trillion. I looked up old files as far as stories go in New York Times and whatnot, and they made it seem like there was a lot of fanfare with the fact that we reached 1 trillion and the end was near, in a sense. 1981 too, we also weren't in the best economically as far as the country goes. The late 70s, early 80s were rough times economically for a lot of people in the country. And with the background of $1 trillion worth of debt, it must have scared some people then. Which brings me to why this number does scare me. Last year, or a couple months ago, we reached 33 trillion in debt, and it took us about 3 months to reach to add another trillion to that debt, to 34 trillion. Now, the numbers that I know of as far as adding debt to the economy, or money printing, if you will, Trump was a big money printer, but the economy was doing well at that time, from my estimation, due to the fact that a lot of the money that was being printed was being put right back into the economy to keep the economy going. Even if it goes to banks, which I don't agree with money printers at a federal level, quote unquote, giving money to banks, which are private, to lend out. But I don't agree with that principle of printing and giving it directly to private banks. But during that time, we did have 0 to 2% interest. So these banks were lending out money a lot easier than they are now. If you try to go get a loan at the bank now, it's really, really hard. From the people I talk to, a lot of people that are in real estate are having to finance products, or projects out of their own pocket, which, is the way you should be doing it. But these are people that had 6 projects going simultaneously in 2020, 2021, more so 2020 and 2019, which are now limited to doing 1 or 2 projects per year. These are people that had 6 or 7 projects going every month or two. But being that the banks aren't giving or lending out easy money, that does put a bit of a monkey wrench into the gears of the economy. Another thing too is that a lot of that debt is supposed to be paid back by the purchase of bonds. Which I don't believe. I've never believed that theory in a second, because I've met maybe 3 people in my whole life that purchased the bond or that talk about buying bonds or selling bonds. The bond market is a bunch of BS. If you ever look into it, there's nothing real about the bond market. The bond market is right up there with the price of silver and gold, to a lesser degree, as to markets that are just a bunch of BS, fake markets where they probably launder money and God knows what. Anyhow, the way that they quantify us not having a economic emergency due to a large amount of debt, which right now is at 34 trillion, or any amount of debt for that matter, would be that they say, listen, like, people around the world are still buying American bonds or U.S. Treasury bonds or U.S. Treasury notes. It's still a big market for these bonds, so we could still keep punting our debt down the road, because these bonds, in essence, are paying off a lot of this debt. Nobody's buying bonds. A lot of countries, Japan, a big one, Russia has a lot of bonds, China has a lot of U.S. bonds, are no longer buying bonds. More so Russia. Russia supposedly has billions worth of bonds, hundreds of billions in U.S. bonds, and they're probably not calling it in. I mean, because even though it would screw up the U.S. economy in a sense, it would probably screw up their own economy. So we're, in my eyes, not because of this 34 trillion number, we're at the precipice of financial calamity in this country. I've been saying this for a while. My theory is that in 2008, when we were at the precipice of really shitting the bed economically during the fake recession that we had, was that they just went with a tactic, then Obama, of the money printing and giving it directly to the banks. That we were going to go into a system where that was just the norm. Trump did it as well to a degree, but every president from here on out is probably going to try to employ the same tactic until it's no more, until we do hit a real Great Depression, the greatest depression, which is bound to happen soon. I mean, like, it's almost, we're 80 years from, more or less, from the last depression, if I remember correctly. And it seems like these things cipher every 80 years. It seems like the world just peels a different skin every 80 years. Everything resets, in a sense, every 80 years. World wars pop off every 80 years. Financial calamities, natural calamities. And as far as finances go, the numbers that brought our country into steep decline economically during the Great Depression destroy the numbers are nothing compared to the numbers in regards to the finances of this country. The Great Depression numbers are nothing compared to the numbers that you see nowadays, which are really scary. So let me know what you guys think. I mean, it's a little bit of a babbling on my part, yeah, but these things, as far as finances though, as far as finances are concerned and the economy, I try to stay in tune with things that are indicators of, wow, did anybody else notice this? Or wow, this is a scary number. And the fact that they added $1 trillion worth of debt in a couple of months, I mean, it is scary. I mean, like, and a lot of it supposedly is money that we're giving to Ukraine, which has passed 100 billion at this current juncture, according to some reports. Some reports are saying that number is past 400 billion. But we have another war popping off in between Israel and Palestine, or Gaza, whatever in which we're being asked to finance that war too. We've already started financing that war too, as far as giving money to Israel. It's not coming at the veracity as it was in Ukraine when Russia decided to invade Ukraine initially. Like, there was a lot of outpouring and a lot of green lighting money being sent to the Ukraine in hopes of helping them, I guess. That hasn't happened as far as Israel goes in terms of the war, even though we do give Israel a lot of money, which I don't think we should be doing anyway, or any other country for that matter. But what if the Israel war beefs up a little bit, and then we're being asked to give money to the Slava Israel. That becomes a thing instead of the blue and yellow flags that people were putting in their profiles on Twitter and on the outskirts of their profile pictures in Facebook, when that was the cool thing to do and support Ukraine. What if that becomes a big thing in terms of Israel, a country that has a lot more clout here in America, a country that, when you talk to evangelicals, which we have a lot of in America, then I could see the powers that be here in this country feeling a lot more compelled and having a lot more of an audience with people wanting to throw money into the Israel-Palestinian war. So brace yourselves. I think 2024 is going to be a crazy year. I mean, I was thinking yesterday, as far as like the stuff that you saw from 27, there's more information regarding the people that run the world currently, who've had like the power of the media behind them, anti-Trump faction, you could say. We didn't have a lot of information on them during Trump's presidency in 2017 to 2021, and during Biden's presidency either. A lot of the stuff that his family was getting down with, and a lot of these politicians, when you see how they get down, the media wasn't really telling you that stuff unless they had something negative regarding a conservative. But now, in just this past year, the conservative effort, in a sense, has garnered more information regarding the bad liberal elements that run the world currently. They have more information on them just this past year than they were able to acquire under the Trump presidency and the 3 years of Biden's presidency. So 2020, I say that to say this, and they were able to acquire all that information just in 2023. So 2024, it should be a little bit of a year of, all right. And you see it everywhere. You're seeing black people support Trump out of nowhere. You're seeing Latin people talking shit about Biden. A lot of this stuff's blown up in their face. I do sense a little bit of a tide turning, and I haven't felt that there was a chance for the tide to turn as much ever as I do now in 2024. Maybe I'm gassing myself because we just started the year, but I don't say that in a hopeful way, because when the things do swing the other direction, when the pendulum does swing in the opposite direction, which I can see happening in 2024, we're going to be in a world of shit, if the financial market blows up, and that's the swing of the pendulum in the other direction. Or if, some of these politicians get their spot blown up as far as their personal information being put out there far more by a apologist media in 2024. I can see a lot of these things popping off now more than ever. And if Trump does win this coming election, which all indications are that he will, that's just going to make things even more spicy. So, if there's any sort of bright side or silver lining to this, is that at the very least, it will be eventful, and brace yourself to be entertained. With that, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I'm out. Peace.